Thank you. I already answered the question, but can I ask, is anybody reporting this meeting? Let me put the public on notice that this meeting is being recorded. Can I ask everybody please to put their cell phones on silent or shut them off altogether? Thank you. I want to start by thanking Chair Rogers for letting us use this room. We are, until we get into Worcester, still in the begging mode for meeting rooms, and so we really appreciate the generosity of the Chair to allow us to use this room for our meeting today. I'll go through the agenda, but before I go through the detail, I would like to make one important announcement and one change to the agenda today. We are not going to be doing regulations today. The simple fact is that we're just not ready. There's a lot of work to be done, and we just need more time. I want to make it very clear we are not reversing any of our policies. We will discuss the regulations with respect to our policies in the future, but the reason for this delay is not because we are reversing any of the policy decisions we made, but simply that a lot of the regulatory drafting, which is in process, is very complex. So we approved by a policy vote both social consumption pilot as well as home delivery. Those are pretty complicated topics, both in terms of ensuring that the regulations reflect the policy decisions that we made, as well as some of the more operational details that are required for successful and safe implementation of those policies. And so that's complex. We are dealing with 3 sets of regulations: medical, adult use, and co-location. And while they are all
there's clearly some overlap and some requirements for consistency, and in some places it's inappropriate for consistency, but we can't just do each of them individually. We have to do them with an understanding of how they impact each other, and so that adds to the complexity. The third thing that adds to the complexity is that while we set up this regulatory process specifically to address some things that we deferred last year, including home delivery and social consumption, but also to modify some of the medical regulations that we inherited from the Department of Public Health. The other reason that we decided to do a regulatory process at this point in time was to take advantage of the experience that we've had over the last year in the real world implementing the regulations that we developed last March. And I'm so proud of what we did last March. I think we did a really good job in a relatively short time frame with not a lot of information, but now we have that information. We have our staff doing licensing applications, doing inspections, doing enforcement actions, and we've learned some things need to be tightened up or tweaked, and so part of the process is to allow us to benefit from that experience and to make appropriate modifications to the regulations based upon those learnings. And so all of that is just complicated and time-consuming, and we need more time. I want to just talk about what's going to happen next, since we're not doing it today. First, today, all we will do is the Executive Director's Report, which is about where we are in terms of licensing in the queue. We have a set of final licenses that the staff has made recommendations on, which are 5 in total. And if my math is correct, we have 17 provisional licenses. I didn't want to take off my shoes to count, so I ran out of fingers. Did I get that right, Kyle?
It's 14.
I think it's 16 with the 2 medical provisional licenses.
Okay.
My intent is to just power through with no break and probably get done, I would say, sometime before noon, but we'll see how it goes. But that's all that's going to be on the agenda today. Going forward, we're going to do the following things. One, first of all, we are not going to, we had posted a meeting for tomorrow under the assumption that we weren't going to be able to get through all the regs today. Since we're not doing regs, we will not have a meeting tomorrow. So for those of you that wanted to have a free Friday, you can thank me after the meeting. My understanding of the forecast for tomorrow is 72 and sunny, so enjoy your free day. We're going to be back at the office working on regs. We don't have the specific dates yet, but what we're going to do is essentially push things off by a month. So we had public hearings scheduled for June 25th and 26th. We will reschedule those public hearings for a month down the road, sometime in later July. We also had a normally scheduled public commission meeting for June 27th. So we now have 3 dates that are on hold in June, 25, 26, and 27. We'll use 2 of those dates as yet to be determined to do what we were intending to do today in terms of going through the draft regs and voting on them. So literally everything just gets pushed back by a month. During that month, we have asked our executive director to come up with a plan on how to close the remaining open issues on the regs and to make sure that you know, we do feel like we can have an informed discussion on draft regs that reflect explicitly the policy decisions we've made. We've asked our executive director to have that plan in place by the first part of next week, and we've also asked our executive director to ensure that that plan takes as little staff time as possible, particularly from our licensing and enforcement team, so they can focus on what their jobs are, which is licensing and enforcement. So appreciate the executive director's flexibility in terms of developing that plan, and we'll work according to that plan to ensure that a month from now we're ready to have the conversation that we need to have in terms of draft regulations. I do not make this decision lightly. I am very aware, as we all are, that some of the regulations, maybe all of them, are very important to the various constituencies, and we understand that, appreciate that. Our modus of operation from day one has always been to get this right. And we try to be timely. We have hit every one of our legislative mandates up to this point. This was not a legislative mandate. This was a self-imposed mandate. I take responsibility for both setting that mandate and for pushing it off and on. But we have always operated under the assumption it's more important to do it right than to hit an arbitrary deadline. So that's what we're doing here. We are going to get this right. I want to emphasize that this is not about the staff. Our staff has been working incredibly hard, as I mentioned. We have tremendous number of regulations that we have to deal with, tremendous complexity of regulations, and our staff is doing this in addition to their day jobs, whatever they happen to be, whether it's inspections or licensing applications. So I appreciate the work of the staff. My decision to push this off for a month is not a reflection on the staff, it's a reflection on just how complicated and complex the conversations and decisions we have to make are. So that's it. I just wanted to, at a time, thank people for their understanding. I can certainly understand that people who are disappointed. Again, I know these regulations are really important to people, but I appreciate your understanding. That being said, let's get into the remainder of the agenda. So we'll start with the Executive Director's report. Mr. Executive Director, are you ready? Thank you. Apparently there's an exact angle I got to do this at to make it work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you see before you is a typical routine update as far as the licensing portal.
Can everybody hear the Executive Director? Is your mic not on?
It is on.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
No, I'm having a hard time hearing you, let alone the people in the back that you're not facing.
Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah, I think you've got to be really close to your email. Thank you.
We'll see how this goes. So as I indicated, this is a routine update as far as the activity in the licensing portal. You'll see that there's 3,488 total applications. That number obviously appears to be large. That said, there are 419 that are pending with at least one packet having been submitted. 269 have been withdrawn. 2,642 remain incomplete and therefore not submitted. One application has been denied and 157 have been considered and approved by the Commission. The breakdown based on license type is on the right-hand side table.
Thank you. Questions? Please keep going.
This next slide indicates that there's 421 applications that are currently being reviewed by the Commission. Again, the breakdown is on the left-hand side table. You'll see that there's a difference of 53. The significance of that number, the size of that number is really based on the last time this number was reported to the Commission.
It was 2 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago. So this is within the usual range as far as submissions. Of those 421, 183 have secured R&D priority status, 8 have secured economic empowerment priority status, and 230 are general applicants. And those 421 applications represent 225 separate entities.
Questions?
This next slide indicates the demographic breakdown of those 421 applications, you'll see that 364 or 86.5% have not identified as a disadvantaged business enterprise. And again, the breakdown's on the left-hand side as well as a pie chart on the right-hand side.
Okay, thank you.
This next slide here indicates where those 421 applications are pending as far as the Commission's process. And this, I think, is an important data point to distinguish that 421 number includes the 158 applications that have been considered by the Commission. Therefore, there's 135 that are awaiting review for completeness. 91 have been reopened and require additional information. 23 are currently awaiting response from third parties. Again, those are our background check vendor as well as municipalities within which the applicant intends to locate the business. And 14 are before you for consideration today. That, as Kyle indicated earlier, that's 14 adult use applications or 2 medical as well.
Yeah. Thank you. There we go.
This next slide is a geographic breakdown as to where applicants or where applications are located across the Commonwealth. Again, that 53 number and where it breaks down based on county. Again, you'll see that by and large, Worcester County remains the most popular county-wide location for proposed applications. But again, that 53 is spread across the Commonwealth.
Still no Dukes.
Correct. This next slide is an additional breakdown of that, again, geographically distributed across the Commonwealth. The geographic breakdown of retail applications. You'll see that there were 26 within the 53 new applications that come in since the last time this information was reported. And again, where those new applications are hailing from.
Questions?
These next few slides break down agent applications. Again, these are things that are extracted from the cannabis industry portal. You'll see that there's 5,566 total agent applications. Of that, the majority, 3,920, are active. There are 257 that are pending before the Commission for consideration. That includes 254 establishment agents as well as 3 laboratory agents. 129 of those 257 have not yet been reviewed. 127 have been reopened for additional information. 1 is awaiting third-party response in the context of agents. That is a fingerprint. And lastly, 0 are awaiting approval given that we approve them or consider them on a rolling basis.
Okay, thank you.
Again, staying with agent data, this information breaks down a bit of the demographics of the agents. This is the 4,177. That number is those that have been approved and those that are still pending. You see the majority, or 67.4%, identify as male and 32.2% identify as female. Further demographic information pertaining to agents, you'll see that 73.1% of the majority identify as white. And again, the breakdown is on the left-hand side table, a pie chart with the same data is on the right-hand side.
Thank you. Is that it?
That is it for today.
Ed, is there anything else in your report, Mr. Executive Director?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then let's move into the next item on the agenda, which is staff recommendations on the final licenses. There are 5 final licenses for consideration. The Executive Director will be leading this part of the conversation. So let's get into the first one, which is VCWC LLC, which is MC2A1841 Tier 9 Outdoor Cultivation. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, the entity here is BCWC LLC. The license here being sought is that of a cultivator for outdoor cultivation, a Tier 9, which authorizes up to 80,000 square feet. This licensee is also either an applicant or provisional licensee for a number of other applications or licenses. They include a Tier 1 cultivation indoor, also in Sheffield, at 5,000 square feet, cultivation Tier 2 indoor, product manufacturing and retail. All of these will be located in Attleboro. Important context here is, as you know, the Commission has a regulation which authorizes or limits the canopy up to 100,000 square feet. Those taken in total at a maximum would be 95,000 square feet, so no limitation, but close to it. This licensee, for this particular license in Sheffield, was approved for provisional licensure on April 4th. Since then, they've paid all their applicable license fees, and information has been reported regarding the organizational structure. No information has been discovered regarding the suitability of the licensee or any individuals or entities associated with it. Our first inspection occurred in Sheffield on May 16th. The inspection occurred and was found, the licensee was found to be in full compliance with our regulations. We discovered no evidence during that inspection that indicated the establishment is not in compliance with any of the applicable state and local codes, bylaws, ordinances, and regulations. Again, as a sampling of what we do, we evaluate their security protocols and procedures, including the secure entrance and exits, visitor procedures, etc. We also evaluate their inventory and storage procedures and protocols. As this is a cultivation license, we do also review their cultivation operations. As this is outdoor cultivation that is not yet planted, we did not calculate the specific square footage of their canopy. That said, we discussed with the applicant and identified that they will not expand beyond the authorized 80,000 square feet. Once planting occurs, we will go and count and calculate that again. So there's not a specific calculation.
Thank you.
Would be if there were plants to be and canopy to be calculated. Again, this was just a cultivation application or license, so there's no product manufacturing or retail operations there. Therefore, Commission staff recommends a final license with the conditions of the licensee may cultivate, harvest, possess, or otherwise acquire marijuana, but shall not sell or otherwise transport marijuana to other establishments until upon inspection, receiving permission from the Commission to commence their full operations, that they're subject to inspection to ascertain compliance with other regulations, that they remain suitable, that they cooperate with the Commission, and lastly, that they'll update the Commission of any written operating procedures or plans prior to the issuance of their commencement of operations. We should be given the adequate opportunity to review those plans where they may be in the normal course of business. This licensee has demonstrated their compliance and is therefore recommended for a final license. And as part of that approval, Commission staff seeks authorization to take those steps to require or to evaluate their compliance with those conditions and to approve the commencement of their operations.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Okay, then can I ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for BCWC LLC MC 281-841 Tier 9 outdoor cultivation?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner McBride? Okay, Commissioner, all opposed? Commissioner Tuttle?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation by a vote of 4 in favor, Commissioners Doyle, Flanagan, Hoffman, and McBride, with Commissioner Tuttle abstaining. Thank you. Next on the agenda, Canna Provisions Incorporated, MR 281796 Retail. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, the entity here is Canna Provisions Incorporated. The proposed address is 220 Housatonic Street in Lee.
Can we have a little debate about whether it's Housatonic or Housatonic?
I believe it's Housatonic.
Is it against state law for us to make a 5-cent wager on it, right? Kidding.
I'd rather not.
Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
The license here, the license being sought is that of a retailer. This applicant is also a provision license for another retail establishment, this one located in Holyoke. This licensee in Lee was inspected, was granted a provisional license by the Commission on February 21st. Since then, they paid all their applicable license fees. No new information has been reported to the Commission regarding their organizational structure. No new information has been discovered by staff regarding the suitability of the licensee or any of the individuals or entities associated with it. The first inspection occurred at this facility on April 10th. The establishment was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. We also didn't discover any evidence or information pertaining to their compliance with applicable state, local codes, bylaws, ordinances, or regulations. Again, we evaluate their security protocols and procedures, their inventory and storage protocols and procedures. As this is a strictly retail, there's no cultivation or product manufacturing affiliated with this facility. However, the retail establishment was reviewed and evaluated and found to be in compliance, including their verification of identification for access, the layout of their sales floor, and the availability and contents of their adult use consumer education materials. Therefore, Commission staff recommends a final license with the conditions before you as pertaining to their ability to possess and otherwise acquire marijuana, but shall not dispense, sell, or otherwise transport marijuana to other establishments or to consumers until upon inspection receiving the permission from the Commission to commence their full operations, that they are subject to inspection from the Commission, that they remain suitable for licensure, that they shall cooperate with the Commission, that they identify or notify us of any change in their written operational plans, and that we have the ability to inspect them at the facility where they may be. This licensee has demonstrated their compliance and therefore is recommended for a final license. As part of that approval, the Commission staff seeks authorization to take all steps to review their compliance with those conditions and to approve the commencement of their operations.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Then can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Cannabis Provisions Incorporated, MR 281796, retail?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Tuttle?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation issued by a vote of 4 in favor, Commissioners Doyle, Flanagan, Hoffman, and McBride, with Commissioner Tuttle abstaining. Thank you. Next, we're going to do these separately or together? Okay, thank you. So we have 2 final license applications for Central Ave Compassionate Care Incorporated, MC 281505, Tier 1 Indoor Cultivation, and MP 281399, Product Manufacturing. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, the entity here is Central Ave Compassionate Care Incorporated. Proposed address is 31 Central Ave, Air. The license is being sought that of a cultivator of Tier 1, which authorizes up to 5,000 square feet in a product manufacturing. This applicant is not an applicant for any other establishment license. The licensee was approved for provisional licenses here on September 20th of 2018. The licensee has since paid all their applicable fees. No new information has been reported to the Commission regarding the organizational structure, and no new information has been discovered by staff regarding their suitability. The initial inspection occurred at this facility on November 30th. Licensee's establishment was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. There was no evidence discovered during the inspection that indicated they were not in compliance with any applicable state, local codes, bylaws, ordinances, or regulations. Again, we evaluate their security, protocols and procedures, inventory and storage protocols. Their cultivation operation was inspected. At the time of inspection, the entity did not have any plants again. In this facility, no canopy grid was specifically calculated. That said, we are confident they will be within the 5,000 square feet, and once plants are introduced, the specific canopy will be calculated. We also inspected their product manufacturing protocols and procedures, including their proposed compliance and safety, sanitation, and security of that area and any products. Commission staff therefore recommends the final license with the conditions before you, including that they may cultivate, harvest, possess, prepare, produce, and otherwise acquire marijuana, but shall not sell or otherwise transport marijuana to other establishments until upon inspection, receiving permission from the Commission to commence their full operations. That they are subject to inspection from the Commission, that they remain suitable for licensure, that they'll cooperate with the Commission and its staff, and that they'll notify us of any written operations plans that may be updated or changed, and provide us an opportunity to review those plans. This licensee has demonstrated their compliance and is therefore recommended for a final license. And as part of the approval, Commission staff seeks authorization to take steps to review their compliance with those conditions and to approve the commencement of their operations.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Then we'll do 2 separate votes here, starting with Central Ave Compassionate Care Incorporated, MC 281505, Tier 1 Indoor Cultivation. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Let the record show that, even though I didn't ask for a second, that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Tuttle?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation for Central Ave Compassionate Care Incorporated, MC 281505, voted 4 in favor. Commissioners Doyle, Flanagan, Hoffman, and McBride, with Commissioner Tuttle abstaining. Thank you. Can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Central Ave Compassionate Care Incorporated, MP 281399, Product Manufacturing?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Tuttle?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation for MP 281399, a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners Doyle, Flanagan, Hoffman, and McBride, with Commissioner Tuttle abstaining. Thank you. Last and final license up for consideration is Gibby's Gardens LLC, MB 281347, microbusiness. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, the entity here is Cannabis Gardens LLC. The proposed address is 660 Douglas Street in Uxbridge. The license here being sought is that of a micro-business, and this applicant is not an applicant for any other license before the Commission. This licensee was approved for a provisional license on November 1st. Since then, they've paid all of their provisional license fees. No new information has been reported to the staff regarding the organizational structure, and no new information has been discovered regarding the suitability of the licensee. The initial inspection occurred at this facility on February 26th. The establishment was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the Commission's regulations. No evidence was discovered during that inspection that indicated the establishment was not in compliance with any of the applicable state and local codes, bylaws, ordinances, or regulations. Again, we evaluate their security protocols and procedures, their inventory procedures. This is a micro business which authorizes both cultivation and product manufacturing. We verified and reviewed their cultivation operations. Again, as there have not been plants introduced, there was no specific canopy that was calculated, but based on the establishment and the interview with the applicant, they will remain within their approved tier, and once plants are introduced, they will be, the canopy will be confirmed and identified. This entity, again, as a micro business, is authorized to conduct product manufacturing, but that facility has not yet been built out. Therefore, this is a micro business with no retail as well. Therefore, Commission staff recommends a final license with the following conditions. The licensee may cultivate, harvest, possess, prepare, produce, and otherwise acquire marijuana, but shall not sell or otherwise transport marijuana to other establishments until upon inspection, receiving permission from the Commission to commence their full operations. The licensee is subject to inspection to ascertain their compliance with other regulations. The licensee remains suitable for licensure. They cooperate with Commission staff. And lastly, the licensee will notify the Commission of any updates to the written policies and plans and provide us an opportunity to review those plans. The licensee has demonstrated their compliance and therefore is recommended for final license. And as part of that approval, the Commission staff seeks authorization to take all necessary steps to review their compliance with those conditions and to approve the commencement of their operations.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Then I have a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Gibby's Gardens LLC, MD 281347, micro business.
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
I think I'll give it to Karen. I think she won. Let the record show the Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Gibby's Gardens LLC, MD 281347, micro business. And let me take a short pause here to acknowledge, if I'm correct, this is our first micro business.
Final license. Correct.
Final license for a micro business. It's also a female-owned business, if I'm correct. And I just wanted to note that that's a pretty important milestone. So thank you, staff, for your work on this, and good luck to Gibby's Gardens.
This is actually not a rally.
That is it for final licenses. Is that correct, Mr. Executive Director? Great. So let's move on to the 16 provisional licenses. And Mr. Potvin, you're going to be leading this part of the conversation, if I'm correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you can get that microphone close to you. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we've got two medical facilities first, and then we'll do the adult use facilities next. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Great. No, call me sir. First one then up, and let me get to the slide. Thank you. The first one up is Agricultural Healing Incorporated, which is a vertically integrated medical marijuana treatment center, an RMD. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Agricultural Healing Incorporated. The proposed location of this medical marijuana treatment center is 1 Lewiston Street in Fall River, Mass. All three operations, cultivation, product manufacturing, and dispensing will occur from this location. The applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other establishment. The individuals associated with this application are Colin Joffrey as an executive, a director, and a capital contributor, and Robert Hargraves as a director. There are no entities other than the applicant that appear to have any ownership or control interest over this establishment. The applicant has executed a host community agreement with Fall River. We've received a municipal response from the city of Fall River on May 15th stating that the applicant is in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. There are no suitability issues arising from this application on any of the individuals associated with it. The applicant states that it could be operational by January 1st of 2020. They did submit a cultivation plan, a list of products that they plan on producing. All were deemed to be compliant with the Commission's regulations. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Bright.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just a little closer, a little louder, please.
How many medical delivery operations would this be if it comes online?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Commissioner?
So it says here that the applicant discloses plans to perform home deliveries to registered patients. Do we know how many delivery operations that on the medical side that would be if this comes online, how many would actually be delivering or have plans to deliver?
It's not a number I have readily available right now, but it's a number that we could definitely consolidate and present to the executive director for your consumption.
Thank you, I would like that. Thanks.
Commissioner, Mr. Executive Director.
Related to that, I should note that not every, while it's a provision that is allowed as part of the medical regulations, not every vertically integrated medical marijuana treatment center is actively delivering. So, and as I understand it, it is a percentage. I don't want to describe it as a fraction, but it's not a majority.
I understand that as well. I'd like to start getting an understanding on the medical side of who's delivering and sort of what the scope of those operations look like. So it doesn't have to necessarily be for the next meeting, but if we could kind of get a sense of that, that would be helpful. Today we're considering a couple of applications where that's noted that they do have plans to deliver. And so as that kind of comes together, I'd like to have a sense of it. Thank you.
And just as an additional note, right now the medical application for an MTC license, they are specifically asked that question,
Yeah.
so they do have to submit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Then can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Agricultural Healing Incorporated for Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center, RMD.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Agricultural Healing Incorporated. Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Next up on the agenda is Briarleaf LLC, which is also for the Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center in RMD. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Briarleaf LLC. The proposed location is 527 Pleasant Street in Attleboro, Mass. Again, all three operations, cultivation, product manufacturing, and dispensing will occur from this location. The applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other medical marijuana treatment center. The individuals associated with this application are Jonathan Brooks as an executive and member, Michael Cavanaugh as a director, and Jones Schneider as a member. The applicant did execute a host community agreement with Attleboro. The commission did receive a municipal response from Attleboro on April 23rd, stating that the applicant is in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. There were no concerns and no suitability issues that arose from any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant did state that it could be operational by January 7th of 2020. They did submit all of their required plans and summaries, including a cultivation plan and a list of products that they plan on producing. Therefore, commission staff do recommend a provisional license be issued with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there any questions or comments? Then may I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Briarleaf LLC for the Integrated Medical Marijuana Treatment Center, RMD.
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Briarleaf LLC. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, Boston Bud Factory. I'm sorry, are they co-located or separate facilities?
Co-located.
Co-located, so we'll go through the one recommendation, two votes. Boston Bud Factory Incorporated, NPN 281397, product manufacturing. Boston Bud Factory Incorporated, MRN 281525, retail. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Boston Bud Factory Incorporated. The proposed location is 73 Sergeant Street in Holyoke. The two licenses being sought is that of a product manufacturing and a retail license. The applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other type of establishment. The individuals associated with this application are Franklin Daly and Carlo Sarno, both as owners and partners. There are no other entities other than the applicant that appear to have any direct or indirect authority over the establishment. The applicant did execute a host community agreement with the municipality. They also did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response on April 11th stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the following. Provide annual donations in the amount of between $500 to $2,500 to Nueva Esperanza in the South Holyoke Neighborhood Association, and additionally provide donations in the amount between $1,000 and $5,000 to Meg's Fight for a Cure. There were no suitability issues that arose from any of the individuals associated with this application. They did submit a timeline, a proposed timeline that states that they can be operational within 3 months of receiving their provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following: institute hiring of minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people of all gender identities and sexual orientation. Host job fairs in areas with a high minority population, and additionally purchase products sourced from minority and women-owned businesses. As this is a product manufacturing and a retail application, they did submit a list of products that they plan on producing and a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Funkin. Are there comments or questions?
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Flanagan?
Mr. Chairman, with regards to their positive impact plan, I would like to send it back and have it redrafted. I think there's a lot of questions in here, and it seems to be all over the place, starting with the fact that it says that it's already had an impact, it's hosted 3 summits to promote education, but then it goes on to say, which we appreciate, that they're going to follow the law. And then it says that they support hiring of residents from the DIAs, but they go on to say they target 30% in year 1, but then 50% in year 5. So how are we going to gauge this every year? I just would like some more clarity as to what their plan is yearly, rather than year 1 to 5. Also, they talk about the fact that they're going to partner with the Leary Resource Center in Springfield and Nueva Esperanza and Holyoke to host job fairs and put on training and community education events, but they're not saying how many a year. They're just saying that they're going to participate and host them. So I'd like to know how many they're going to do, not that they may do. And then to further go on, the way that they talk about, I mean, I appreciate the fact that it's revenue that they're going to be giving back to the community, but I really think that the other programs are just as important, because that's going to impact more people with regards to training. So if they could do that as a condition.
Great, thank you. Other comments or questions? Commissioner Tuttle?
I support those 2 clarifications of specifying the numbers between 30% and 50%, which number, which year, and also how many of the events they would hold. But in general, I found their positive impact plan very impressive, and in particular, the part about how they have how they have already done events with a positive impact. I believe that's the first time I've seen that at that scale when an application comes in, so I was impressed.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Then can I ask for a motion, please? We'll do 2 separate votes here. Can I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Boston Bud Factory Incorporated, MPN 281397, product manufacturing, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan?
So moved. Second.
Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tuttle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation with the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan for MPN 281397. Can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Boston Bud Factory Incorporated, MRN 281525 retail, again, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Let the record show that Commissioner Tuttle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. I'm sorry, I'm tired. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved staff recommendation for MRN 281525. Thank you. Next up are 2, and again, co-located, so we'll go through them once, and then we have 2 separate votes. Cannabis Incorporated, MCN 281487, Tier Indoor Cultivation, and MPN 281365, Product Manufacturing. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this is Cannabis LLC. The proposed location is 88 Huntoon Memorial Highway in Leicester. The 2 licenses being sought is that of a Tier 8 indoor cultivation license and a product manufacturing license. This applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other establishment. The individuals associated with this application are the following: Jonathan Napoli as an executive and officer, Barry Kushner, Roderick Taille, Jordan Mello, Marcelino Davila, Emily Peckham-Elman, and David Noble, all as close associates. There's one entity other than the establishment that is going to be a capital contributor, and that is CLS Holdings USA Incorporated. The applicant did secure a host community agreement on May 15th of 2018. A community outreach meeting was conducted. The commission did receive a municipal response from the municipality stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which includes the following. Institute hiring practices that will prioritize the hiring of individuals from disproportionate areas with a focus on Worcester. Host and/or co-host at least 2 job fairs annually in Worcester, and provide annual monetary and in-kind donations to Family and Community Resources Incorporated. There were no suitability concerns that arose from any of the individuals or entities associated with these applications. The applicant states that it could be operational within 10 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives. Host and/or co-host at least 2 job fairs annually, and work with an independent consultant to develop tools for employees to assist with career enhancement. As this is a cultivation and product manufacturing application, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan and also a summary of the products that they plan on producing. Therefore, commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Commissioner Thompson?
I'd like to suggest a condition on the diversity plan to specify measurable goals.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Then can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Cannabis Incorporated MCN 28147 Tier 8 indoor cultivation, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Kyle?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Cannabis Incorporated MCN 281487 Tier 8 indoor cultivation. May I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation for Cannabis Incorporated MPN 281365 product manufacturing, again subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Kyle?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the staff, or the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for MPN 281365. Thank you very much. Next is Comcan Incorporated MRN 282205 Retail. Mr. Ponton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant is Comcan Incorporated. The proposed location is 1525 Main Street in Millis, Mass. The license being sought here is that of a retail license. The applicant here has received final licenses for a cultivation operation and a product manufacturing operation, both in Medway. The individuals associated with this application are Ellen Rosenfeld, John Rosenfeld, Mark Rosenfeld as owners and partners, Mark Abate, and James Sipe as close associates. There are no entities other than the applicant that appear to have any direct or indirect authority over this establishment. The applicant did secure a host community agreement on February 11th of 2019 and did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response on April 22nd, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the following. Institute hiring practices that will prioritize the hiring of individuals from disproportionate areas with a focus on Mansfield. Participate in at least 1 career fair in Mansfield, and additionally provide assistance to Mansfield's food pantry and Our Daily Bread through donations and volunteering. There were no suitability issues that arose from any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline that states that they could be operational within 5 months of being issued their provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following. Institute hiring practices that will attract the hiring of diverse individuals. Additionally, provide diverse employees with the tools and opportunities to ensure their success. As this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. The commission staff therefore recommend a provisional license be issued with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Commissioner Tennant.
I'd like to propose the same condition to add measurable goals to the diversity plan.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, again, we'll do these in separate votes. So can I ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for I'm sorry. Apologize for that. We're doing ComCan, yeah, so there's just one vote. Can I ask then, please, for a staff recommendation or a vote to approve the staff recommendation for ComCan Incorporated MRN 282205 retail, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Title?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for ComCan Incorporated MRN 282205 retail, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Title. Thank you. Next, we have two co-located for Mascro LLC, MCN 281488, Tier 11 indoor cultivation, and Mascro LLC, MPN 281460, product manufacturing. Mr. Fontaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant is Mascro LLC. The proposed location is 134 Chestnut Hill Avenue in Apple. The two licenses being sought here are a Tier 11 indoor cultivation license and a product manufacturing license. This applicant is not an applicant or licensee for any other establishment. The individuals associated with this application include the following: Andrea Cabral, Francis Barullo, Stephen Rothling, and Jason Sterling, all as executives and officers. There are two entities other than the applicant itself that have ownership or control interest over this establishment. They include Ascend Wellness Holdings LLC as a capital contributor, and Mascro Incorporated, which is the owner of Mascro LLC. The applicant did secure a host community agreement with the municipality on July 17, 2018. They did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response on May 20th, 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the following: host 4 industry-specific educational seminars per year, host 4 quarry sealing clinics annually, and lastly, contribute 0.5% of its net revenue to the We Grow Foundation. There were no concerns and no suitability issues that arose on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline that states that it could be operational within 10 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following: host 2 career fairs annually, and secondly, provide annual cultural training and cultural sensitivity in recognizing unconscious bias. As this is a cultivation and product manufacturing application, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan and also a summary of the products that they plan on producing. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions? Commissioner McBride.
I'd like to add the condition that we receive additional information about the types of products they're going to be producing, flavors, form, prior to final licensure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, and then we'll do these two separately. So can I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Mascro LLC, MCN 281488, Tier 11 indoor cultivation, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously accepted the staff
Mr.
recommendation.
Chairman, I abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Let me correct the record. I truly apologize, Commissioner Flanagan. Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation for MCN 281488 by a vote of 4 in favor, Commissioners Doyle, Hoffman, Title, and McBride, with Commissioner Flanagan abstaining, and again, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride. Let me ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for MPN 281460, again, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Flanagan?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation for Mascro LLC, MPN 281460, product manufacturing by a vote of 4 in favor, Commissioners Doyle, Hoffman, Title, and McBride, with Commissioner Flanagan abstaining, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride. Thank you. Next up is Mayflower Medicinals, MRN 281. Do you need a little bit of a break there, Mr. Conklin?
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. You have another sip. I'll give you another sip. You said it?
Just trying to stay hydrated.
It's important. Okay, next up is Mayflower Medicinals Incorporated, MRN 281-256 Retail. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Mayflower Medicinals Incorporated. The proposed location is 645 Park Avenue in Worcester, Mass. The license being sought here is a retail license. The licensee, the applicant here is a licensee for a cultivation operation and a product manufacturing operation. Both of those operations are located in Holliston and both have a provisional license. The individuals associated with this application include the following: John Henderson, Hadley Ford, and Randy Maslow as directors, Andrew Plant, Caleb Johnson, and Holly Alberti, all as close associates. There are entities other than the applicant that have some type of ownership or control interest over this establishment. They include the following: Ianthus Capital Management, LLC, which is the sole shareholder and capital contributor; Ianthus Capital Holdings Incorporated, which is the sole member owner of Ianthus Capital Management, LLC; and Pilgrim Rock Management, which is providing management and consulting services. The applicant did secure a host community agreement with the municipality on February 11th of 2019. A community outreach meeting was conducted. The commission did receive a municipal response from the municipality on May 7th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which includes the following initiatives: implement Mayflower Clone Program, clone standing for Cannabis Learning Opportunities New England, to provide skills, training, and education in industry and business applicable areas to facilitate in resume building and appointment seeking. They also plan on offering a paid fellowship program with a focus on operations, cultivation, product manufacturing, marketing and branding, and business management. And lastly, partner with neighborhoods and areas of disproportionate impact to identify and develop gardens and green spaces within their community. There were no suitability concerns that arose for any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. They did submit a proposed timeline that states that they could be operational within 7 months of being issued their provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives: host 4 career fairs annually within the cities of Worcester, Lowell, and Boston, with a preference for hiring minorities, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people of all gender identities and sexual orientations. Provide 1 annual cultural training on cultural sensitivity and recognizing unconscious bias. And lastly, utilize vendors and suppliers who are also committed to diversity and inclusion. As this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining their marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments? Thank you. Then let me ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Mayflower Medicinals Incorporated, MRN 281-256 Retail.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tittle. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Verona, sorry. Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Mayflower Medicinals Incorporated, MRN 281-256. Thank you very much. The next 3, the first is located by itself, the second 2 are co-located, if I'm correct. So we'll do the first of the Nature Medicine application. So Nature's Medicines Incorporated, I have no idea, Ziphius, is that correct? I apologize to the principals if I got that wrong. Ziphius Wellness, MRN 281701 Retail. Mr. Potvin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Nature's Medicine Incorporated. The proposed location is 482 Globe Street, Fall River, Mass. The license being sought here is a retail license. The applicant is an applicant for 3 other license types, one being a Tier 4 cultivation license and a retail license, both located in Uxbridge, and an additional retail license that would be proposed to be located in Raynham. The individuals associated with this application include David Brayton as a board member, Jigar Kumar Patel, director, and Jerry Wilson, Michael Hassenberg, and Stephen Borges, all as close associates. There is an entity other than the applicant that will have placed a role in this establishment, and it's Globe Street Management, and they're listed as a close associate. The applicant did secure a host community agreement on June 26th of 2018. A community outreach meeting was conducted on July 23rd of 2018. The commission did receive a municipal response stating that the proposed establishment was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan which includes the following: institute hiring practices that will prioritize the hiring of individuals from disproportionate areas with a focus on Fall River. And secondly, volunteer 16 hours per year to support Citizens for Citizens Incorporated. There were no suitability issues or concerns that arose on the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline that states they could be operational within 4 months of being issued their provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives: host industry-specific training sessions for minorities every April and October. And secondly, host industry-specific training sessions for women every January and July. As is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the other conditions before you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Okay, then let me ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MRN 281701, retail. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
I'm sorry, that was Commissioner McBride. Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I'll let the record show that Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tittle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MRN 281701, retail. Thank you. We'll go through the next two together. We'll have separate votes. So Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MRN 281701, retail, and MCN 281806, Tier 4 indoor cultivation, and also for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MRN 281709, retail. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is Nature's Medicine Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness. The proposed location is 1045 Quaker Highway in Uxbridge. The two licenses being sought here are that of a Tier 4 indoor cultivation and a retail license. As previously stated and voted upon, they are an applicant and now provisional licensee for a retail license location in Fall River. They have an additional retail application that's in the queue for a location in Wayham. The same individuals are associated with this application as the previous one. Same thing with the additional retail. The applicant here did secure a host community agreement on May 14th, 2018. They did conduct a community outreach meeting. We did receive a municipal response on April 11th stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. They did submit a positive impact plan for these applications, which is the same initiatives as previously discussed. Additionally, there was no concerns or suitability issues on any of these individuals or entities as previously stated. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline for these applications that states that they could be operational within 4 months of receiving its provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan for these applications. It's the same initiatives as was previously discussed. As this is a cultivation application, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan, and as it is a retail application, they additionally submitted a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff recommend a provisional license be issued with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Okay, then I'd like to, again, two separate votes here, so I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MCN 281806, Tier 4 indoor cultivation. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second. Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that the staff unanimously approved the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MCN 281806, Tier 4 indoor cultivation. Can I have a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Nature's Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as Zithius Wellness, MRN 281709, retail? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tittle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Nutrient Medicines Incorporated, formerly known as City Wellness, MRN 281-709 retail. Thank you. Next two are also co-located, so one discussion, two votes. Solar Therapeutics, MPN 281-464 product manufacturing, and Solar Therapeutics Incorporated, MRN 281-817 retail. Mr. Bachman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Solar Therapeutics Incorporated. The proposed location is 1400 Brayton Point Road in Somerset, Mass. The two licenses being sought are that of a product manufacturing and a retail license. The commission has previously approved a Tier 5 cultivation indoor license that will be at the same location, and they do have a provisional license. The individuals associated with these applications include the following: Edward Dow as an executive and officer, Ronald Rappaport and Michael Maxim as directors, Colleen Dow, Michael Allen, and Robert Keller as close associates. There is one entity other than the applicant itself that will have ownership and control interest over this establishment, and that includes Dow Capital Partners, LLC, sole shareholder and capital contributor. The applicant did secure a host community agreement on July 9th of 2018. They did conduct a community outreach meeting on August 2nd of 2018. We did receive a municipal response from Somerset on April 17th of 2019 stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. They did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the following initiatives: instituting a hiring practices that will prioritize the hiring of individuals from disproportionate areas with a focus on Fall River, conduct at least 4 one-hour industry-specific educational seminars annually, and lastly, hold monthly informational sessions related to sealing and expunging criminal records. There were no concerns and no suitability issues that arose on any of the individuals or entities associated with these applications. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline that states that they could be operational within 1 year of receiving their provisional license. The applicant submitted a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives: institute hiring practices that will attract the hiring of diverse individuals, advertising employment opportunities in diverse publications, including bilingual media, networking groups for those who identify with the above-listed demographics, and posting job options on public forums. Third, providing briefings to representatives from recruitment sources tailored to individuals falling in the above-listed demographics concerning current and future job openings. And lastly, encouraging employees to refer applicants from diverse groups for employment. As this is a product manufacturing application, they did submit a summary of the products that they plan on producing. Additionally, as this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, the Commission staff do recommend issuing provisional licenses with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much. Are there comments or questions? Commissioner McBride?
I would like to add the condition that we receive additional information regarding flavors and forms of the products that will be produced.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Okay, then may I ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Solar Therapeutics Incorporated, MPN 281-464 product manufacturing, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride. Have such a motion, please.
So moved.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Tidal. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation for Solar Therapeutics Incorporated, MPN 281-464 product manufacturing, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner McBride. Let me ask please then, let me ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Solar Therapeutics Incorporated, MRN 281-817 retail. We don't need the condition here, Commissioner McBride, is that correct?
It's around the product manufacturing.
Yeah, okay, fine. So just a staff recommendation as exists. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'm sorry. I think Commissioner Tidal wants a tie breaker. So can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Tidal made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation for Solar Therapeutics Incorporated, MRN 281-817 retail. Thank you. Last is Theory Wellness Incorporated, MRN 281-835 retail. Mr. Bachman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Theory Wellness Incorporated. The proposed location is 672 Fuller Road in Chicopee. The license being sought here is that of a retail license. The Commission has previously issued final licenses for a Tier 1 indoor cultivation, product manufacturing, and a retail operation. Additionally, they have been provisionally licensed in Sheffield for a Tier 6 outdoor cultivation license. The individuals associated with this application include Nick Friedman, Brandon Pollock, Hunter Pollock, Andrew Linegar, Stephen Derry, Asher Woodworth, and Benjamin Friedman, all as board members. There are no entities other than the applicant itself that appear to have any ownership or direct or indirect authority over the establishment. The applicant did secure a host community agreement on January 28th of 2019. They did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response from the municipality on May 10th, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan, which includes the following initiatives: host a career fair once per year in Springfield, give priority to local businesses, suppliers, contractors, builders, and vendors in Springfield for services to the marijuana establishment. And lastly, donate at least $5,000 to organizations and/or nonprofits whose missions are to improve areas of disproportionate impact. There were no concerns or suitability issues that arose from any of the individuals and entities associated with this application. The applicant does states in their proposed timeline that they could be operational within 1 month of receiving a provisional license. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the following initiatives: implement hiring practices to reduce bias, and additionally promote participants in the Commission's social equity program and advertise positions to reach diverse individuals. Secondly, host training sessions in Springfield at least once per year. And lastly, comprise a management team of at least 30% of individuals that are women, veterans, minorities, or people with disabilities. As this retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend issuing a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put a condition on the positive impact plan. While I appreciate them wanting to make up 20% of the workforce from people who reside in Springfield, I'd like to know a more detailed timeline, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3. They seem to have a timeline to expect all hiring by October 1st of 2019. So does this 20% go in year 1, or is it incremental over time?
Anything else?
The one other thing that I'd like to put a condition on is, it says that if the hiring, when they conclude their hiring, if they have not met their goal, again, I don't know if 20% is year 1 or over time, that they're going to develop a new plan to ensure that they meet their goal. So I'd like to know how quickly they plan to create that alternative plan.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Tuttle?
I agree with Commissioner Flanagan. And building on that, with regard to Springfield, can they specify that it's the disproportionate areas of impact within Springfield? And with regard to the diversity goal of a management team of at least 30% being women, veterans, minorities, or people with disabilities, considering women are half the population, I think that's low. So I'd like them to consider that. And then third, in general, the positive impact plan was quite weak, but they have been promoting their own equity program elsewhere, which I think is more than sufficient, and that's probably just a timing issue. So can we give them the opportunity to revise their positive impact plan and include that?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any comments or questions? Great. Then can I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation for Missouri Wellness Incorporated MRN 281-835 retail subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Tidal?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the staff, or the commission has to approve the staff recommendation for Missouri Wellness Incorporated MRN 281-835 retail subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Tidal. Mr. Potvin, are there any others for consideration today?
Not at this
You
moment.
sure? We can go a little while longer.
I don't have it in my back pocket.
Okay, all kidding aside, thank you very much to you and the remainder of the enforcement and licensing staff. I truly appreciate the work that goes behind what I appreciate was a relatively brief overview of each recommendation. So thank you for your brevity, but understand that we all understand the amount of work that goes behind that. So thank you. Thank you for the presentation. The next meeting for the commission is June 13th. As usual, since we're begging for space, we don't have a location yet. We will update the public as soon as we have one. This is a regularly scheduled commission meeting, so we'll cover our normal agenda at that time. We will update the public as soon as we possibly can about the rescheduling of the public comment or public hearings, as well as when we will schedule a commission meeting to go through the draft regulations. So don't have dates on those yet, but we'll get them to the public as quickly as possible. There being no further business in front of the commission, can I ask for a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You by unanimous vote, we are adjourned as of 11:40 a.m. on May 30th, 2019. Thank you very much.